Chelsea, Liverpool. Dylan, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I'm also a Liverpool supporter, so I'm not a neutral on this, but I'll try to be as objective as possible. I think that this has the potential to be an exciting game, but both teams are kind of a mess at the moment. Neither of them have a specialist defensive midfielder, which is both very important to the way they play, because right now Liverpool's defensively are extremely exposed. During their preseason games, Van Dijk and Konate had to clean up so many messes. They were very isolated. Attacking-wise, Liverpool are insane at the moment. Their depth is crazy, but I'm just worried about how vulnerable they are to the counter. And I think Chelsea have very good attacking players as well, but I think they'll also be worried about the potential of a counter.
I don't see goals in this, do you? I see a lot.
So I think this is either going to be like a 3-3 or 4-3 or either a 0-0, where both teams are either like offensively they are,
Who do you think they'll miss the most out of the guys that left this year?
I think Fabinho 100%. I think that even though Fabinho's legs were gone last season...
Just checking to see if you're a real Liverpool fan.
Even though his legs were gone last season, I think that you can't be going into a season with potentially Curtis Jones or Alexis McAllister as your defensive midfielder because they just aren't that. And
that's quite an image, Curtis Jones.
Curtis Jones protecting Van Dijk and Konate is it's not gonna happen. But I think I'll go 4-3 to Liverpool. I'm gonna stay.
I knew you were gonna say Liverpool. Everybody watching on TV did. Money boy.
Also a Liverpool supporter, not for quite as long as Dill. I think Dill was born wearing red. But I think it will very much be a game of just like both sides trying to blitz each other. I definitely don't see a 0-0. However, I do see it being fairly equal. Chelsea at home, Stamford Bridge. I'm gonna look. Last season they started as well. I think Chelsea and Liverpool's first 5 games were pretty much like the same results. Very evenly stacked. I want to pick a winner in this game because it's kind of you don't want to draw.
Well,
But I see a 2-2.
Okay. Well, look, for me, I think that both teams are vulnerable at the back, like you said, and both of them have decent goal scorers. I think Liverpool have more depth than that, and I think that Nunez is going to have a great season this year.
I hope so.
I think he's a very interesting player and talented player. So I'm going to go with a 3-2 win for Liverpool. I think there will be good goals, and it could. So, 3-2 for me, Liverpool. And then we have Manchester United, Wolves.
I'm really keen to see this Man United squad play. I think kind of watching them develop.
Do you think they overpaid for Mason Mount?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one because it's a lot of money to pay, but then there's the chance that someone else, one of their like top rivals, would have got him. So I think you look at that sort of. It's almost that like commodity value attached of, is a player, was Jack Grealish intrinsically worth £100 million? Probably not, but I think City was one of those, it was one of those cases of we need to make sure no one else has him, and I think, with Liverpool, not that we're actually a hell of a threat in the transfer market, but with Liverpool vying hard for him, I think United maybe kind of were like, we're going to sacrifice an extra couple of £1 million here to make sure that one of our top contenders doesn't have Mason Mount. And I think he's a workhorse, like you said, great attitude as a player, and I think is kind of keen to come from, I think, where he may have felt very stagnant in Chelsea and really prove a point at United. So, long-winded answer to your question, no, I don't think they overpaid.
For Gen Z, that was the longest winded answer I've ever seen.
I think there was some good thought that went into paying that extra fee for him, and I really think he's going to come through for them. So
remind me never to ask you a rhetorical yes or no question. So you say they didn't overpay for him. Dylan, what do you think?
So I think if he had 1 year longer on his contract, I think it would have been a fair price. But obviously also the way the market is at the moment, it's completely skewed. The fact that we spoke about now, Bayern Munich, who don't historically don't really splash huge fees are paying 86 million for Harry Kane, who contract expires in 12 months. Arsenal paying 105 million for Declan Rice, Chelsea paying 106 million for Enzo Fernandez. Like,
Yeah.
the market is now, it's a seller's market, but also it's what value does this player bring to your club. And if Erik ten Hag wants Mason Mount badly enough, in that he feels he's going to bring the best out of his squad, I think he's worth 60 million. It's more like, what is he worth to your team? Like Ollie was saying, and I think he will improve the players around him a lot, because his engine, his attitude, he's got a point to prove now. Because at Chelsea, he was kind of, I would say he was disrespected. Like,
yeah.
I, as a Liverpool fan, I really would have liked Mason Mount to play
Yeah.
for Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think to the way he was treated as an academy graduate, Champions League winner, player of the season for 2 years in a row, to let him go to one of your biggest rivals, firstly, is a red flag. But the way that they treated him around his contract, in my opinion, those are the players you seal first. Their future is guaranteed.
Well,
And
Chelsea, I mean, the new Chelsea owner seems to me to be a bit of a, look, he's obviously an incredible businessman, but he knows absolutely fuck all about soccer.
yeah, he is learning the hard way, I think.
Yeah.
I think also like his
Could go to jail for that. He certainly learned the hard way.
yeah, I think the latest contract offer that they offered him at Chelsea was, I think it was just to add 12 months to his contract so they could sell him for more now. So they clearly didn't value him at all. I think he will make Anthony a better player. I think that Christian Eriksen's limited in that he wants to drop deep. He wants to play balls in behind. He's like a free kick specialist. He isn't going to run the hard yards, get into the box, work. Whereas Mason, and that left Anthony very limited. Anthony didn't have a lot to work with. He'd have to come inside or he'd have to go around. And because we know he's so left-footed, it's difficult for him. But Mason Mount now he loves running into the box. He loves fetching coming and getting the ball on the edge of the box, running overlapping runs. So now Anthony has an option, a great player that can score goals and create goals. So now to create space for him coming inside or create space for him to go around. So I think Mason Mount's slightly overpaid, but I think we'll find out long term whether it was worth it or not.
Of course we will.
Personally, I think, yeah, that's true. But personally, I think it was, I think it was a good signing.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I think Wolves are also in disarray. They've just lost their manager.
Yeah.
They've lost Raul Jimenez.
Yeah,
They've lost Ruben Neves. Their best players have left.
Yeah.
The players that are still there are also aging.
Yeah.
Man United
So-
also have a really cool kit, so
So 5-0 Man United. No, I think it'll be like 2-0 to Man United, I think.
Yeah, look, for the same reason. I mean, I'm interested to see how Højlund does this year. I think he got 9 goals, I believe, at Atlanta last year.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't know how he'll do. No one will. No one does until he plays. But I think
Well,
it's
we'll
an
see in the long
interesting
term.
compared to what we're seeing people being signed for. It's an interesting signing, and I think that he'll do well. I'm not sure if Marcus Rashford can repeat his 30-goal season. That's a big ask. Very streaky player.
I mean, also given that he may be playing in just a bit of a different context now. You know, it's like he was filling in a lot, playing in.
He was
sort
the
of more
focal point.
central
Now he's got other players
forward.
to take the burden off him.
Exactly. So
Look-
I think naturally, I don't know if he's necessarily going to have a worse season. It just may not be as
Might not be
impactful from a
necessary.
numbers perspective.
Yeah.
He
Exactly.
may not have to
Yeah.
if like you said, the guys step up.
I mean, if
Sure.
Mason Mount provides 10 goals a season, if Bruno chips in with another 10 to 15,
Yeah.
if Højlund can get close to 10,
Yeah.
Anthony starts getting rhythm, getting close to 10, that's
Well, it
an
used
extra
to be-
30 to 40 goals that United
If
didn't
my
have
aunt
last
had balls,
season.
she'd be my uncle as well, you know. But well, that used to be the case. Now it just make it different. Look, for the very reason, Wolves are in shambles right now. You couldn't actually, if you had to pick a team you wanted to play this weekend, you'd say, I want to play Wolves.
Yeah,
So I've got a
especially at home.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
3-0 for me to Man United.
3-0 for me.
Look,
Did you guys write in the book together? or-
it's the notebook. Look, it's 3-0. I think the Wolves are going to have a difficult season. Let's chat about relegation.
What's your score? You said
2-0.
2-0.
2 United, yeah.
You know
All
who
right.
this guy reminds me of? And the knowledge? Moneyball. The Moneyball.
Jonah Hill or Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, man. Come
Thank you.
on. Brad Pitt in Troy. Oh.
I'll take that.
Yeah. A young Brad Pitt. Who are your relegation candidates and why?
I think Luton are going to be rock bottom. I think that's pretty safe. If they stay safe, it'll be one of the greatest Premier League achievements, I think, ever.
Straight after Liverpool, after Leicester winning the Premier
Yeah,
League?
I think that it would be. It's almost impossible for them to stay up. I think they're pretty much competing in the Premier League, which is way more difficult with the same squad. And very rarely does that work out.
Well, not only that, they've lost a goalie that was so instrumental.
So they've lost players. They've got Ross Barkley in, who has lost his legs, isn't really amazing anymore. Didn't work out at Chelsea, hasn't worked out at Nice.
Now, you don't mean that literally. I mean, he's not in a world.
Yeah, may as well be.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, I see them finishing 20th. I think they'll just concede way too many goals, and I just don't see them having a goal threat. I think that the biggest challenge with newly promoted teams is lack of goals, and they've done nothing to ensure that they'll score more goals right now.
Yeah.
I think they'll struggle in that aspect, and that'll be their downfall. If I look at 19th, I think for me, between 19th and like 16th is pretty tough because the margins we saw last season are 1 or 2 points, goal difference even. I think it'll be Sheffield though. I think, like I mentioned earlier, they're selling their best players to their rivals. They're not signing any players to replace them.
Yeah.
I think that they'll be tough to beat, but I also think they'll struggle to score goals. I don't think they'll score enough goals.
Yeah.
They'll probably have a couple 0-0s, a couple 1-1s against maybe big teams, but they don't have enough in the locker to get them through. Now, 18th, I think is difficult because I think there's a couple teams that can contend for that. I think Wolves are in serious trouble unless they sort something out. I think Burnley, naturally, they've just been promoted. They will be in trouble just by the nature of
How it goes.
transitioning to the demands of the Premier League, especially the way they're playing with very attacking football that very rarely works out. I mean, Leeds survived in their first season, but it was a catastrophe pretty much after that.
What did I say to you earlier in the show?
Sorry, yeah. Even Norwich usually come up and they play attacking football and it goes terribly for them. So
So your three are?
I think the next one will be, I think I'm going to go with Wolves.
Interesting. Okay. Ollie?
I'm going to go same as you for 19 and 18.
Oh my
I think it's pretty straightforward. But I see Burnley actually maybe clawing it in and Nottingham Forest potentially going down.
He didn't say Burnham would go down, did he?
I said Luton, Sheffield and Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm saying instead of Wolves,
Forest.
Forest.
Yeah, I'll tell you why Forest won't go down. Steve Cooper and their home record and a more settled squad. You couldn't have had a more. They were one of the great escapes last year, finishing 16th. I think they finished. It was only on the 38 points, but when you look at trying to gel 20 new players into a system, it's insane.
And they were in trouble for a long time.
Yeah.
They were in trouble for a long time.
So Wolves, because of their home record, I have to say Nottingham Forest. No, I am going to have to agree with this young man here, Moneyball as we call him. You're looking at Luton. You're right. No scoring. They're going to be tough to break down. But that mentality of parking the bus and
Only lost for so long, over 38 games.
Yeah.
absolutely. And those squads as well. If they get any injuries, which inevitably happens in a full Premier League season, where do you go? You don't have the depth. So to me, Luton 20th, Sheffield 19th, and Wolves 18th. Because even if someone comes in, it's going to be difficult to sort of resurrect that Wolves team with so much talent going, the chaos there.
I mean, they're already starting the season on the back foot now. They don't have a manager and starts in 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, and one of the people will talk about Nottingham Forest being in the mix because I think out of all the teams in the Premier League, their first 4 or 5 games are pretty tough. They've
Yeah.
got the toughest schedule. So I wouldn't read too much into that, but there may be an opportunity for looking at them from a relegation betting point of view in the first 4 games, waiting for that to happen, and you might find that their odds get better or higher for them to be relegated, and I would be all over that as soon as they're out of that tough part of the schedule. Who's going to finish 1 to 5?
Okay, well, I think Man City are going to finish first.
Yeah.
You know, never romantic. Then second, I think you have to give. I think you got to go off of what Arsenal showed us last season, and then they're incredibly astute. I think they've done some of the best business in the transfer window, like we spoke about earlier.
How long is Jesus out for?
It's not crazy. It's not a huge amount of time. He will be back relatively soon. I don't think he needs surgery or anything like that.
So you don't know?
I don't know. No, I just know it's not long term. So
Okay.
he will be back relatively soon.
Okay.
Um,
So you Man City?
yeah.
Yeah, that's your one.
Arsenal too.
Yeah.
I like what I saw from Man United last season, and I like what I've seen from them in the transfer season.
Yeah.
I think United will finish third.
Yeah.
You know, maybe this is me being a bit romantic and a bit hopeful, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Liverpool to finish fourth, because I think Newcastle, you know, like we said, they're continuing to build, and they're going to be within this top 6 for seasons to come. But they're going to be balancing European football now as well. Liverpool will be playing European football, but with not nearly the same demands that squad was, you know, put under last season. I think the fact that we have so much attacking prowess is also going to be a big differentiator when it comes to goal difference.
Yeah.
You know, if we can do enough to hold the defense together, I think we're going to be scoring some of the most goals in the Premier League this season. So I think Liverpool just pips Newcastle for fourth, and I think Newcastle comes in fifth.
So my top 5 is pretty similar to Ollie's. I think that Man City, even though Arsenal beat them on penalties in the Community Shield, I didn't see enough from Arsenal to really show me that, okay, they did well in keeping Man City out for 90 minutes, but in the Premier League, that's a draw. It's only 1 point. To break Man City down next season is going to be so difficult.
Yeah.
I think Man City will finish first.
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely be a smaller gap than last season. I'm going for Arsenal second. I think that this season for them, they would like a title race, title charge. But I think Man City, their squad is just too complete. Like, I think that to beat Man City over 38 games, you have to basically be perfect. And I think even though Arsenal have made great signings in Declan Rice and Timber and Havertz and Raya, their squad is insane now. But if Rice gets injured, they're kind of back to square one.
Yeah.
What
If Odegaard gets injured,
What if Holland gets injured?
I think if Haaland gets injured, Alvarez is a great backup.
Yeah.
Third, I agree with Ollie. I think that Man United are going to mean business this season. I think that since Erik ten Hag's been there, he has identified the weaknesses. Firstly, it was we can't have Fred and McTominay at the base of the midfield anymore. Like, we just can't. We cannot deal with that. So Casemiro was a great signing.
Yeah.
Then they identified, okay, Eriksen doesn't have the legs to run for a full season. He's a great option, but he's not starting quality. Mason Mount goes in there.
Yeah.
Harry Maguire's about to leave, and Varane and Martinez, I think, are very, very solid. I think in fourth place, this is difficult because as a Liverpool fan, I would love Liverpool to end top 4, but at this current point in time, I think that they aren't strong enough to go a whole season. I think Liverpool are too beatable this season. I think that their problems from last season haven't been fixed. They're still too vulnerable defensively. Our attack is insane, but it's like a throwback team at the start of Jurgen Klopp's time where...
It's like a backline without a pack.
Literally. It's basically Liverpool's way of playing the season is going to be we just have to score 5 goals a game. We might concede 4, we might concede 3. I don't see Liverpool getting many clean sheets this season just because Konate and Van Dijk are way too isolated. So I'm going to go for Newcastle in fourth place. And even though I think they might struggle with the adjustment to Champions League football, I don't think they're going to make it far in the Champions League at all. Depending on their group, they could be knocked out to Europa. But I think their team developed a lot last season. I think that like you said, Eddie Howe's an amazing manager. He improves every player he coaches. The fact that he has Dan Burn playing left back and Newcastle have like the best defensive record in the Premier League is actually just crazy.
Yeah. So Newcastle 4.
Yeah, then fifth, I'm going to have to go Liverpool. I won't give them fourth, but I'll give them fifth.
You don't have to go Liverpool, actually.
No, I would like to go Liverpool.
Okay.
Liverpool in fifth, yeah.
Okay. Well, for sure. My concerns, I do think that Man City will have less motivation, but they still have some motivation to win the league for the fourth time. And you're right. I mean, the depth that team has. Pep is a master motivator, and he's also one of those managers that makes players better. Phil Foden's a perfect example of that, and I think Foden's going to have a very strong year. I am going to go for Newcastle to be second. I've always got to go with a controversial thing, you know. It's the only one I got right last year.
Was there something in your coffee, or?
There's always something in my coffee, mate. I do like Newcastle to do well. I think they'll bolster the squad a little bit more without being ridiculous. But they looked so good last year at times in that Premier League, you know. I like Arsenal to finish third. I like Liverpool to finish fourth. And Man United to finish fifth. And I'll tell you why that Man United to me, I know people are talking about them challenging Man City, and I think that'll be put to bed as soon as they play a game. Because the gulf between those two teams is to me is enormous. So for me, Man City, Newcastle, Arsenal, Man United, and no, I said Liverpool, and Man United fifth. That's my top five.
It's funny how there's actually just not that much discourse around the fact that Chelsea ended 12th last season.
And we're not even talking about that.
Yeah, and it's like...
Yeah, but I do think that Poch is the right guy to come in there. He's just one of those. He's like a teddy bear. You know, you just want to give him a hug. And apparently he has that sort of.
He doesn't even have to be successful.
I was listening to a story.
Come manage our team. We're not snappy.
I was listening to a story from on YouTube, and this one guy was talking about interviewing him, and he said, "I'm sure he didn't even know my name until 2 minutes before the interview, but he got up and gave me a hug. It just made me feel like the most important person in the world." And I think that I thought that it was wrong of Tottenham to get rid of him. I thought that it started off bad, but that you'd also look at the Harry Kane debacle that he was inheriting and the managing egos. You know, I like Pochettino as a manager, and I think he'd be good for Chelsea. It's just Chelsea's had to get rid of a lot of players, and they're going to have a difficult year. I don't know if they're going to make Europe.
I think Chelsea could end sixth. I think the thing is, though, we're speaking about Chelsea's owners earlier. They need to completely change their mindset going into the season. When they say they're giving their manager time, it needs to be time. It can't be giving Graham Potter an inherited squad that was Thomas Tuchel's, then not even giving him a proper transfer window, not buying players he needs, then firing him when he gets the Champions League quarterfinals or something like that. Like.
Well, there was rumors.
There's too much of a run over
from
Chelsea for it to be an immediate fix.
No,
this
exactly.
Year, regardless of who they bring.
Well, the amount of money they spent last year just showed, and his sort of insistence, because Tuchel wasn't doing a bad job.
Not at all. I mean, he just won the Champions League.
Yeah.
And they gave him 6 games, and that was it.
Yeah. Maybe it's a hangover from World War II and America fighting Germany and stuff. You never know what some of these guys. But Americans. You know, with the exception of the Boston, the Red Sox, the Fenway Group, who are great owners, being good owners for Liverpool, and just let the guys get on with it and have patience, you know. Because we live in an impatient world. I mean, last year people were calling for Klopp to be fired. What an absolute... Well, I mean, you just want to slap someone silly when you hear that stuff.
I think the Premier League is crazy at the moment, especially bottom half of the table. There's such a fear of not getting... like teams that are borderline relegation. Like, for example, I don't think Patrick Vieira did terribly at Crystal Palace. I think when he got fired, they were 12th. And if you look at Crystal Palace historically,
When have they ever been 12?
Exactly. Since when is 12th a bad position? What are they aiming for 8th? Are they aiming for top 6? Like, is it? Are you really going to fire your manager
How
over
about
that?
Bielsa?
Exactly.
I mean, and then
First guy
you know,
to get you to the Premier League, and now that's not good enough.
and then we bring in Ted Lasso. What the? I mean, come on. You know, it's like Jesse March. It just, yeah.
Also, Southampton as well. It's like the fear of getting relegated actually just makes you do crazy things, like have 4 managers in a season, have a manager for 4 games, have a manager for 5 games. Then,
well, let's look at the last 2 times Leeds have been demoted. Same thing that they did 17, almost 2 decades ago, was the managerial change on people coming in to try and do a salvage job. You know, people, we live in a world with no patience and the fear of missing out, and everybody wants results now. You know, like you say, for Chelsea, Poch should have a 2-year contract guaranteed minimum if the guy wants to have a rebuild in culture, because a rebuild's just not bringing the talent. They proved that last year when they spent more money than anybody else in the world in football, other than maybe the Saudis now. I don't know what the comparison
well, I
is.
think in the past 12 months, Chelsea have spent over 800 million euros, which is like a Hoyland every month, which is pretty crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So how can you have any settling in... I mean, if you want to bring in those sort of players, go and hire Steve Cooper. He seems to be able to make 21 new guys in the team work together and accomplish something. But yeah, I think that there needs to be some realism when you look at bringing in somebody for a rebuild. You know, it's like hiring a construction student. You say, I want my house done in a day.
Fired. 6 hours, you're like, get out of here, bro.
Exactly. You've used 3 too many nails. Anyway, guys, I really enjoyed this show. Moneyball, love it. Ollie, you need to bone up on your soccer, buddy. It's just not good enough, man. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, everybody, and enjoy the new season. Oh, anybody can predict the top all 10 scores correctly, I'll give you 50,000 rand. So we'll post that on the Money Man and Facebook and all that stuff. Yeah, if you can pick all 10 scores, I'll give you, and they've got to be right, and the right teams. I'll give you 50 grand. Anybody that can get all 10 results without scores, I'll give you 5 grand. As many winners as we can have.